Good morning, my dear friends. I'm Sarita. Welcome to my channel or welcome back. Today I have a Starbucks review for you, and this is of the new cold brew that is a white chocolate macadamia cream cold brew. And I've got that with you right here because I ran out to my local Starbucks in the rain because it is rainy and horrible, and it is going to be rainy and horrible here for like 2 weeks. I'm not happy girl. When I went to the store, I noticed they had these samples out. You know, they had like a tray of samples, and it was peppermint mocha, hot peppermint mocha. I had to laugh. Like I just took one without even like seeing what it was, and I was like throwing it back in my mouth. I'm like, what is this? This tastes like peppermint. So the fall is upon us, and definitely the weather here is probably recommending those fall beverages more than they usually would. It's even pretty cool here. Okay, but anyway, macadamia nut, white chocolate macadamia nut cold brew. I think they've had this out for like 2, maybe 3 weeks now, and I like to try all of the various different cold brew seasonal offerings because I love the cold brew. And if you are not familiar with Starbucks cold brew, you really should be. It's fantastic. It's smooth, it's not bitter, it is deep, but it's not acidic or biting. And to me, it tastes like chocolate. Now, for sure, I'm more of a black coffee kind of girl, so I definitely have a taste for like really dark black coffee that's not sweetened with anything or diluted with cream. But I really can't stand acidic coffee that's like super bright. And I don't like burnt coffee either. So their regular Starbucks regular iced coffee, I do not recommend. It's a little cheaper, but it's really brassy and just really not good. For a lot of people, I think they'll say that it tastes burnt. And it kind of does. Cold brew, totally different animal. And the cold brew is like their #1 bestseller. It's a bestseller for a reason. I think it would be really accessible for people, even who may not be black coffee drinkers. And you can always put a little bit of cream in it, or, you know, a pump of their simple syrup if you would like that as well. Anyway, close parentheses. I like to try all of the seasonal cold brew offerings, so I definitely wanted to try this one. This is my second time trying it, and I actually haven't even sipped this one yet. I changed one little thing from the cold brew that I had a few days ago, and so this is a grande, which is like the medium size. The grande has 2 pumps. It's like a pump bottle. It has 2 pumps of their specialty white chocolate macadamia syrup, which is not bad. 2 is, for a grande, actually fairly conservative, but I went ahead and dropped it down to 1. So that's what I put in here. That's the little bit of a difference. So I even did a few photographs if this doesn't come over on the camera. So as you can see, they've got some cream in here, and let me just turn the camera a little bit. On top, you have this sprinkling of, they said they're like some sort of butter cookie, pretty salty because I like tried it a little bit, and they're cookies, but they're, like I said, they have a pretty good salt content in them, which is fine. It's great. It like, I think goes pretty well with it. One thing I want you to see right off is that with most cold brews with the cream on top, the cream tends to be a little bit heavier, and it holds together much better so that it doesn't bleed into the coffee very well. You've got really a pretty dark coffee and like almost like a stout beer or something. You just have that nice layer of cream on top. And it may be the particular syrup that they're using in this, but this cream is very, very loose. And I haven't even like put a straw into it or really shaken it up very much. And I could tell even in the store, I mean, there were just streams of cream all the way down it, which means that it's pretty loose and it is bleeding right into the coffee. So this is more of a pretty light latte look at this point. And if you like your coffee dark, which is what I like, I don't know that I'm a huge fan of the bleed, because this automatically makes it not a dark coffee, not a black coffee. For those of you though that are maybe a little bit more cautious about dark coffee or black coffee and have never tried the cold brew or are a little bit worried about it, this would be a fantastic one to try, because it automatically kind of infuses it throughout with this cream and lightens the entire beverage up. So for that audience, I think this is going to be fantastic. For me, it will never be my favorite cold brew combo, even as a like treat or something, because I do prefer like a really strong coffee, at least initially, to contrast with the sweetness that's in the cream. All right, so as you can see on top, they've got the sprinkling of cookies, and I usually just, you know, lick a little bit off of the, okay. This is fantastic. So you're getting a lot of salt because it's got like the cookies here, but this cream is so amazing. So, and I was talking to the girl behind the register. This tastes like marshmallow, 1000%. Marshmallow, and then it's got those like salty cookies. And we were laughing about it. I said, this is a winner. They could 1000% bring this back in September or October and call it s'more, you know, and they could infuse it with a little bit of chocolate or something like that. You've got your marshmallow for the fall, 1000%. So if you were to just taste this, I don't think you would automatically think macadamia. You would think marshmallow, no question. And it is very, very tasty. A beautiful marshmallow, and it's really nice the way that that like salted cookie is kind of like balancing that fluffy sweetness. So I'm gonna stick my straw in here to kind of get some of the coffee below. Yeah. It's good. It's good. I do think the coffee is a little bit more pronounced than it was like a couple days for me. So I would definitely stay with the 1 pump of the syrup rather than the standard 2 that it comes with. I think it gives the entire beverage a little bit more depth and austerity that frankly it needs with all of that marshmallow goodness. I would even consider, if I bought this again, no syrup. So the syrup is going into the coffee itself, and then they basically infuse the cream with syrup and then whip it up. So even if you don't get the syrup into the coffee itself, because this cream bleeds so readily into the coffee, you're gonna get sweet, for sure. I would think about even dropping it down to 1 pump of syrup, but that's my preference. I tend to like a much more austere coffee, and I love the coffee beans, and I want those to come through despite the yummy goodness that's on top. And I noticed this particularly when there were 2 pumps in it. The syrup is really nice, but it's really just kind of a glorified simple syrup. And there's a buttery nature to the syrup that I was tasting, at least in the coffee. And that's really apropos considering the fact that a macadamia nut is really buttery. I was thinking as I was walking over to Starbucks, maybe it would be nicer if it was more of a nuttiness in the coffee for the macadamia nut. But then I thought about it and I'm like, but when you just eat a macadamia nut, they're really mild. Like they're not like super nutty, and they are more buttery. And so the fact that like Starbucks has kind of captured that is kind of cool. Like I said, for me, not special enough, and it doesn't infuse the coffee or perhaps allow the coffee to come through quite as strongly as I would like. But like I said, for that audience that's a little bit more hesitant about like the really dark coffees, especially from Starbucks, this would be fantastic. And I think a lot of you will find it super tasty. And the macadamia syrup that they're using there, the white chocolate one or whatever, it's a really nice syrup. It blends well. It is sweet for sure, and by itself comes across very marshmallow-like. You can taste it by itself. It doesn't taste super synthetic, at least no more synthetic than a really nice marshmallow. And it blends so well into the coffee. So that's really great because it does do a lot of blending whether you use the syrup in the coffee or not. It blends great. Many of their syrups do not blend well, or they come across as like super off-putting, super synthetic, just really not good. So the cold brew before this, and it's actually still available, is like a cinnamon cream one. And I've had like 4 cinnamon cream cold brews, and I was going to review it. The first 2 that I had were fantastic. And then the second 2 that I had were completely disgusting. And I tried to ask the people behind the counter, like, tell me how you made this. But they were like kind of reluctant to tell me. And I'm not gonna lie, one of the cinnamon cold brews that I got was like in a grocery store, like Kroger or something. And I don't want to throw shade toward Kroger employees, but those are the people that work in the Kroger ones are technically not Starbucks employees. And so I wonder if the training may be a little bit off and the quality control may not be quite as good. But then when I had a second one, and I think it was from a Starbucks and it was not good, I thought to myself, I wonder if the syrup they're using here is not very good. But it doesn't explain why like my first 2 were fantastic. So at any rate, that's why I've held back on the cinnamon, because I'm just really not sure what is up with that. But close parentheses, some of Starbucks syrups are great. Some of them are not. They're not subtle. And God bless, you can like whatever you like. But if you're really interested in like a syrup that blends well into coffee, obviously their simple syrup is pretty good. Try to knock down the syrup as far back as you can for your own preferences, just to make sure that you're really getting that coffee to come through. I also think their brown sugar syrup is pretty good. It tastes pretty natural and it blends pretty well. And I have to second this one. I think this one really comes across super well too. I think it's sweet, but it's balanced and it's got this like buttery kind of goodness to it that is a little bit unique. It's a little bit different than a simple syrup. So I'm a fan, and I think a lot of people will be a fan. I just don't know that my preferences allow me to have this sort of thing on a regular basis. But yeah, so price-wise, this came in at $5.25. That may vary for you depending upon the taxes in your particular locality. So it's a $5.25 and it's a grande. I always get light ice, by the way, on these, just so that I can make sure I'm getting like a good percentage of coffee and I'm not watering down my cold brew, which is really important to me. $5.25, Starbucks prices have definitely gone up, but frankly, everyone's prices have gone up. I went to this like hipster coffee place here because my friend was like, ew, Starbucks, that's not good coffee. I don't know why Starbucks gets a bad rap. So he takes me to this like hipster place, and it was like $7.50 for a cold brew this size, and it was disgusting AF. It was so bad. It was brassy, it was watery, it was just not good at all. And, you know, straight-faced, they were asking $7.50 for that. A lot of your coffee places that are quasi-independent or independent will ask those kinds of prices from you for, frankly, fairly inconsistent beverages, like it's their job. Like that's just fairly standard. So $5.25 from Starbucks for something like this is actually, comparatively to the prices in the market right now, quite good. And considering the consistency and the quality of the beans at Starbucks, I really think that it's still a good and a value buy if you really care about your coffee. But don't take my word for it. I'm a Starbucks girl and I don't want to be a shill for them, but I kind of am. All right, I'm gonna let you go. But just, and I know I've been talking about this so much, those enormous Clover machines for the beans are coming out at Starbucks. I was talking to somebody behind the counter and they said, I'm in Charlottesville, Virginia. We're in the first wave. He said that he thinks we're gonna probably get them around September or October. He said they probably are already rolled out for the most part in the Midwest and in the Boston area. That's what's happening right now. So Northeast, and then New York City, which is its own region, and then the like mid-Atlantic. So we're in the first wave of them, but like toward the end of the first wave. And I'm going to Columbus for the July 4th holiday, and I'm gonna check and see if they have the Clover machines, and you're definitely gonna get a video on that. Thank you, my friends. I'll see you in the next one.